Liam's jaw tightens as the elevator doors slide open to the 37th floor. His reflection in the mirrored panel looks colder than the city skyline stretching out behind him. Another meeting, another set of problems, another day pretending nothing ever cracks him. But today isn't like the others because she's here. Across the glass-walled conference room, sitting with that unshakable calm he's always despised, is Ava, her dark hairs pinned back. Her expression unreadable, her posture professional, too perfect, too deliberate. She looks like she belongs here, and that's what makes his chest tighten, because she doesn't. Not in his world, not in his company, not after everything, Mr. Hale. The assistant's voice snaps him out of it. Everyone's waiting. He walks in, his footsteps echoing sharply against the marble floor. All eyes turn toward him, executives, investors, analysts, but his gaze doesn't leave her. She's sitting right across the table. Flipping through the presentation slides like this isn't the first time they've been in the same room since the disaster 3 years ago. Liam sits down, expression unreadable. "Let's begin," he says coolly. Ava doesn't flinch. Of course, her voice is steady, calm to calm. "I'll be leading the strategy pitch for the partnership proposal." And that's when it hits him. She's the consultant. The one the board hired to fix his company's image after the media storm that nearly ruined his empire last month. Of all the people in the world, it had to be her. The room fades into a blur as she starts speaking, her tone crisp and confident. The Hale Group's reputation can't recover through PR alone. It needs authenticity, real change, visible to the public eye. "We rebuild trust, not with campaigns, but with action." Liam leans back, folding his arms, eyes locked on her. She hasn't changed, still that same fire. Still the one who challenged him when everyone else bowed down. Still the one who walked away when he thought no one ever would. "Interesting theory," he says, cutting through her presentation. "But it sounds like an idealist's fantasy. The world doesn't care about authenticity, it cares about numbers." Ava looks up, meeting his gaze. "Then maybe that's why your company's falling apart." The room goes silent. A couple of executives glance nervously between them. Liam's expression doesn't move, but something in his chest does. She's still fearless, still the only one who dares to speak to him like that. After the meeting, his assistant rushes to catch up with him in the hall. "Sir, the board specifically requested Miss Carter for this role. She's under contract for the next 6 months. Then cancel it." His voice is cold. "We can't. It's legally binding." He stops, looking through the glass at Ava talking to the board members. She's smiling faintly, the same smile that once made him forget entire board meetings. The same one that used to break his walls and then one day shattered everything instead. He turns away. "Fine, but she stays out of my way." But Ava doesn't. 2 days later, she's in his office. No appointment, no warning, just a knock. Then her voice. "You're making a mistake with the investor deal." He looks up from his desk. "And you're out of line. I'm here to save your company, not stroke your ego," she says, walking in and dropping a folder on his desk. "This acquisition you're planning, it's going to backfire. The press already suspects corruption in their board. If you merge with them, your brand's done." He stares at her, silent. There's a flicker in her eyes, determination, maybe anger, maybe something else. He doesn't know anymore. "You think I don't know how this works?" he says finally. "I've built billion-dollar deals since you were still trying to make your first pitch deck." She steps closer, "And you lost the one that mattered most because you refused to listen." The silence that follows is sharp enough to cut. Liam stands abruptly, walking to the window. The city sprawls beneath him, restless and loud. This conversation's over. But Ava doesn't move. "You can keep pretending you're untouchable, Liam, but the truth is, you're terrified of failing, of feeling, of anyone seeing that you're not invincible." His jaw tightens, but he doesn't turn. "I'll send the revised proposal," she says softly. "Do what you want with it." When she leaves, he finally exhales. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. Her presence feels like a wound he can't ignore, one that reopens every time she speaks. That night, he's alone in his penthouse. City lights glitter through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but they don't make the room any less cold. He pours himself a drink, ignoring the news report flashing on the TV, his company's name scrolling across the screen with headlines about scandal and instability. He stares at the glass in his hand. Ava was right. The deal is toxic, but admitting that would mean admitting she still knows him better than anyone. He throws the glass into the sink and lets it shatter. The next morning he walks into the office early. The place is quiet, still, but someone's already there. Ava, sitting on the floor with blueprints spread around her. She looks up, surprised but not startled. "You're early, you're trespassing." She smiles faintly. Working, he crosses his arms. "At 6 a.m., some of us don't sleep when we're trying to clean up someone else's mess." He should be furious, but something about her calmness, her quiet focus, disarms him. For a moment they just look at each other, the morning light cutting through the glass walls, illuminating the space between them. He finally sighs. "You were right about the deal." Her eyebrows lift slightly. "Didn't expect to hear that from you." "Don't get used to it," noted. He almost smiles, almost. As they go over the files together, the air between them shifts. For the first time in years, they're on the same side. The tension isn't gone, but it's different now. Sharper, closer, Hours pass without them realizing. At one point, she glances at him and says quietly, "You still work like you're trying to prove something." He looks up. "Maybe I am. To who?" He doesn't answer. When the board arrives later that morning, they're shocked to see the two of them presenting together. Their synergy is electric, unspoken. Every time he falters, she catches him. Every time she hesitates, he backs her up. It's seamless, like the years apart never happened. And for a fleeting second, he remembers what it felt like before everything went wrong. After the meeting, as everyone leaves, she lingers. "You handled that well," she says softly. He looks at her, expression unreadable. "You always did know how to make chaos look like strategy." She gives a small smile, but her eyes flicker with something deeper. Regret, maybe. "Some things never change, some things do," he says quietly. They both know what he means, but neither says it. That night, as he sits alone again, scrolling through old reports, her voice echoes in his head, the confidence, the warmth, the edge. And for the first time in years, he wonders if pushing her away was his biggest mistake. But he doesn't know yet she's about to become the one thing that changes everything. Not just his company, not just his image, his entire world. Ava stands in the boardroom, her arms crossed, watching the numbers slide across the big screen. Every projection, every chart, they all tell the same story. The company is bleeding from the inside. The Hale Group's profits are down, public trust is fractured, and competitors are circling like sharks. She can feel the tension pressing in from every direction. Behind her, Liam's voice breaks the silence. "We'll turn it around." She doesn't turn. "That's not a plan, Liam. That's denial dressed up as optimism." He walks closer, his presence unmistakable even without her looking. "You think I don't know what's happening? I built this empire from scratch. I've faced worse." She finally turns. "Have you? Because last time, it wasn't your reputation on trial. It was your heart." For a moment, their eyes lock. The air feels heavy, too full of history, too full of things neither of them will say. He takes a deep breath. "This isn't about us." She nods slowly. "Then stop acting like it is." But she knows he can't, and neither can she. They spend the next week buried in crisis meetings, long nights in the glass tower overlooking the sleepless city. Every conversation begins with data and ends with silence. Every time their hands brush while reaching for the same file, they both freeze. Every accidental glance feels loaded with everything left unresolved. One night, around 2 a.m., Ava's sitting in the conference room alone, papers scattered everywhere. Her laptop glows faintly, and exhaustion pulls at her eyes. She doesn't hear the door open until he speaks. "You're still here." She looks up, startled. "Couldn't sleep." He walks in, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking like someone who hasn't slept in days either. "Join the club." He drops into the seat across from her. For a moment, neither says anything. The silence is oddly comfortable until she breaks it. "Do you ever regret it?" He glances at her. "Regret what?" "Walking away." His jaw tightens. "You're assuming I did." She tilts her head. "You didn't fight for me, Liam." He leans forward, eyes dark. "I didn't fight because you made it clear I'd already lost." Her breath catches. For a second, she looks like she might argue, but she doesn't. Instead, she exhales, softly. "We were both different people back then." He nods slowly. "Yeah, but maybe that's the problem. I'm not sure I ever stopped being that person." They sit there in silence again, the hum of the city far below. Somewhere between the papers and the memories, something changes. The sharpness between them softens. The next morning, their collaboration becomes something else, something unspoken, magnetic. They start anticipating each other's thoughts in meetings, finishing each other's sentences. The board notices, whispers spread, Hale and Carter working together again. But while the rumors grow, something real is happening beneath the surface. Late one evening, after a major presentation, they find themselves in the parking lot, standing by a car under the glow of street. "Good work today," he says quietly. She smiles, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Coming from you, that means a lot." He smirks faintly. "Don't get used to it." She laughs softly. Still allergic to compliments, still addicted to being right, he shoots back. For a moment it almost feels normal like before, until his phone buzzes. A notification flashes across the screen, and his expression darkens. "What is it?" she asks. He hesitates. "An anonymous leak. Someone's accusing the company of insider trading." Her smile fades instantly. "That's not true, is it?" "Of course not." "Then who would?" She stops. The realization hits both of them at the same time. "Someone inside," he says grimly. Ava straightens. "You think it's about the merger?" "Has to be over the next few days." Chaos erupts. Reporters swarm the building. Investors pull out. Hashtags trend online. Hashtag Hal scandal. Hashtag corporate corruption. Ava works tirelessly, drafting statements, strategizing damage control, calling in favors, but no matter what she does, the fire keeps spreading. One night she storms into Liam's office, eyes flashing. "You need to talk to the press." Now hiding makes it look worse. He looks up from his desk, exhausted. "If I speak too soon, it'll blow back harder." "So what? You're just going to wait for them to destroy everything you've built?" He stands, suddenly, closing the distance between them. "I'm trying to protect what's left." She stares at him, voice trembling. "And what about the people who still believe in you? The ones trying to clean up your mess?" He exhales sharply, pacing. "You think this is easy? You think I don't care? Then prove it." The words hang in the air. Neither moves, neither blinks. Then slowly, he says, "You want me to face them? Fine, but you're coming with me." "What? You're the one who said we fix this together. So stand beside me." The next morning, the world watches as Liam Hale steps up to the podium, cameras flashing. Beside him stands Ava Carter, poised, calm, unwavering. He clears his throat, glances at her, then faces the crowd. "There have been rumors about corruption inside the Hale Group. I'm here to say we're investigating. Attend. That transparency starts now." The questions come hard and fast, but every time he falters, Ava steps in with precision. They're a perfect balance of power and grace. The press eats it up. The narrative shifts from scandal to redemption. Afterward, as they step backstage, he turns to her. "You didn't have to do that." She meets his gaze. "Yes, I did." He studies her face, the sincerity in her eyes, and something in him gives way. "Why?" he asks quietly. She hesitates. "Because I believe in what you're trying to do." He frowns slightly. "You mean the company?" Her voice drops. "No, Liam, you." The air between them stills. There's a moment, barely a second, where everything else fades. The noise, the chaos, the fear. He steps closer. "Ava." She looks away, breaking the moment. "We should get back to work." But the way her voice shakes tells him everything. Over the next few weeks, things begin to change. Slowly, the company stabilizes. The headlines soften. Investors return. Inside the office, though, something far more dangerous is brewing. Someone is trying to sabotage them from within. Ava starts noticing discrepancies in financial reports. Strange transactions hidden in plain sight. She brings them to Liam. "These numbers don't add up," she says, sliding the documents across his desk. He studies them. "You think someone's setting us up?" "I know they are." But what neither of them realizes yet is that the betrayal is closer than they think. Late one night, as Liam's reviewing files, his phone buzzes with an anonymous text. Just one line: "You can't save her twice." He freezes, staring at the screen. His heart pounds as memories flood back. The fire, the panic, the day everything fell apart 3 years ago. And suddenly, he knows. This isn't just a corporate attack. It's personal. He grabs his jacket and rushes out, his mind racing. Someone's playing a game. And this time, Ava's in the crosshairs. He doesn't know it yet, but the woman he once swore he'd never love again, she's about to become the only thing that matters. Liam's car races through the city streets, headlights slicing through the midnight fog. His phone glows faintly on the passenger seat, the text still there taunting him. "You can't save her twice." The words echo in his head over and over, faster than the sound of his heartbeat. By the time he reaches Ava's apartment building, his chest feels like it might cave in. He rings the bell once, twice, no answer. Panic starts to claw at his throat. He's about to call security when the door finally opens. Ava stands there, barefoot, hair tied loosely, eyes wide with surprise. "Liam, it's midnight." He pushes past her into the living room, scanning the space like a man on edge. "Have you been online tonight?" She frowns. "No, I just got back from the office." "What's going on?" He turns to her, voice low, urgent. "Someone's targeting you. They know about the audit files." Her expression hardens. "How would they?" He cuts her off, tossing his phone onto the table. "They sent me this." She reads the message, her face palling. "Save me twice." What does that even mean? Liam doesn't answer right away. He just stares at her, and she suddenly realizes it's not confusion in his eyes, it's guilt. "Liam," she says slowly, "what aren't you telling me?" He looks away. 3 years ago, when the building fire happened, it wasn't an accident. Her breath catches. "What are you saying?" "There was a data leak," he says quietly. "Someone was trying to expose internal deals, and when I tried to cover it up, it triggered something worse. The fire wasn't meant for MIT, it was meant for you." She takes a step back, eyes wide. "You knew." "I found out after you left. By the time I realized it, you were gone. I didn't think I'd ever get another chance to make it right." For a long moment, she says nothing, just stands there, staring at him, every piece of her trying to make sense of the man in front of her. So all this time, you've been carrying that? He nods, and I'm not letting it happen again. The silence between them is electric, filled with things neither can say. Finally, Ava exhales shakily. Then we find out who's behind this together. He looks at her, almost startled by her calm. You're not walking away. Her voice is steady. Not this time. The next morning, they're back in the office before sunrise. The building is quiet, still half asleep, as they dig through encrypted emails, transaction logs, security footage. Hours pass in tense silence until Ava freezes mid-scroll. Wait, she says, look at this. On her screen, a string of offshore transfers appear. Steamy, almost invisible payments sent to dummy accounts, each one connected to a single internal code. Liam leans in. That's from our legal division. She clicks again, and a name pops up. His expression darkens instantly. Ethan Cole, he mutters, her eyes widen. Your CFO, he nods. My oldest friend. It doesn't make sense. Ethan had been with him from the beginning, through every win and loss. But the numbers don't lie. By noon, the tension has cracked into something dangerous. Liam storms down the hall and into Ethan's office, slamming the door behind him. Want to tell me why millions in untraceable payments are moving under your authorization? Ethan looks up from his laptop unfazed. I was wondering when you'd notice. Ava stands frozen in the doorway, watching. You're leaking intel to our competitors, Liam says coldly. Why? Ethan leans back, smirking. You really don't see it, do you? You built this empire on loyalty, but you never gave any back. The board's turning against you. Investors are fleeing, and all because you can't admit you need help. Liam's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. So you decided to burn the company down? Not the company, Ethan says, his tone dripping with disdain. You. The words land like a punch. Ava steps forward, her voice sharp. You're destroying hundreds of lives because of a personal grudge. Ethan glances at her, smirking. Oh, don't act surprised, Ava. You of all people should know what happens when you stand too close to Liam Hale. Sooner or later, everyone burns. Before Liam can react, Ethan stands and walks past him, calm as ever. Don't bother calling the police. By the time they get here, the evidence will point to you. The door clicks shut behind him. Ava turns to Liam, voice trembling. He's framing you, I know, and the board, they'll believe him. For the first time, she sees something in him she's never seen before. Fear, not for himself, but for everything around him collapsing. She takes a deep breath. Then we need to find proof before he buries you. They dive back into the data, working through the night. Every file they open leads to another trap. Ethan has covered his tracks too well. At one point, Liam leans back, rubbing his eyes. He's always been smarter than I gave him credit for. Ava looks at him. He's not smarter, he's just crueler. Their eyes meet. The exhaustion, the adrenaline, it all collides in a quiet moment neither expected. She reaches out, her hand brushing his. For a second, he doesn't move. Then, slowly, he closes his fingers around hers. You shouldn't be here, he says softly. You could lose everything. She shakes her head. I already did. 3 years ago, something breaks in him then. The wall he's built around himself for years starts to crumble. Hours later, they find it, a single recorded file buried deep in the server, time-stamped weeks before the leak began. It's a boardroom audio log. A voice seethens clear and confident. He'll take the fall, he always does. Once the scandal hits, we'll sell the remaining shares quietly and walk out clean. Liam exhales shakily, gripping the desk. We've got him. But before they can celebrate, the building's alarm blares. Red lights flash across the hallways. The servers begin shutting down one by one. He's wiping the system, Ava says, standing abruptly. Liam's already on his phone. Security lock every exit. But it's too late. By the time they reach the data floor, Ethan's gone and so is every trace of his transactions. They stand there, surrounded by blinking red lights, the sound of sirens growing louder outside. What now? Ava whispers. Liam looks out the window, the city glowing beneath him. Now we stop playing defense. He turns to her, eyes burning with determination. He wanted a war. Let's give him one. From that moment, everything changes. Over the next few days, Liam disappears from the public eye. Reporters speculate he's been suspended. The board begins internal reviews. But behind closed doors, he's working with Ava on something else, something dangerous. A trap. They leak a fake memo about a hidden trust fund tied to the company's assets, knowing Ethan won't be able to resist taking the bait. They plant it in the internal system, traceable only by someone with insider access. Then, they wait. One night, the alert pings. Unauthorized access detected. Ethan's IP. Liam and Ava exchange a look. Got him by dawn. They have the entire chain of evidence, emails, transactions, voice memos, all pointing back to Ethan. It's airtight. Liam calls the board meeting himself. As Ethan walks in, smug and certain, Liam plays the recording. The room goes silent. You'll take the fall. Those were your words, Liam says coldly. But you forgot one thing. I don't fall quietly. Ethan's face drains of color as security walks in. By the time he's escorted out, the board is already murmuring apologies, trying to distance themselves from the scandal. But Liam's not listening. He's looking at Ava. She's standing near the window, the early sunlight washing over her face, exhaustion and relief blending into something almost peaceful. "It's over," she says quiet. The morning after Ethan's arrest, the city feels strangely quiet. News anchors repeat the story on every channel. Hale Group exposes internal corruption. Liam Hale redeems empire. Anonymous whistleblower identified. The scandal that nearly destroyed him has become the very thing saving his legacy. But inside the building, the atmosphere is heavy. The board wants a controlled statement. The PR team wants to spin it. Everyone wants to move on. Everyone except Liam. He stands by his office window, coffee in hand, staring out at the skyline. For once, victory feels hollow. The damage is deeper than any headline can fix. The people he trusted most turned on him. The empire he built cracked under his own blindness. Behind him, Ava's voice breaks the silence. "You did it." He turns slightly. She's leaning against the door frame, a faint smile on her lips. She looks tired, exhausted, even, but there's a light in her eyes that wasn't there before. "No," he says quietly. "We did it." She steps closer, crossing the room slowly. "You've been staring out that window for 15 minutes. Are you waiting for the city to clap?" He almost smiles. "Not my style." "Good, because you don't need their approval anymore." He glances at her. "You really believe that?" She nods. "You didn't save your company by pretending to be perfect this time. You saved it by being honest, by letting people see you bleed." He studies her for a long moment. "You sound like you know what that feels like." She hesitates. "Maybe I do." The air between them softens. For a moment, the weight of everything fades, replaced by something quieter, something that feels dangerously close to peace. Then her phone buzzes. One glance at the screen, and the color drains from her face. "What is it?" Liam asks, instantly alert. She shows him the message. Another anonymous text. "You think it's over?" "It never is." He takes the phone, reading the words twice. "You blocked every channel. This shouldn't even be possible." Her voice drops. Someone's still inside. Within hours, they're back in crisis mode. The IT department runs a full sweep. Nothing. No new breach. No trace of hacking. It's as if the message appeared out of thin air. By late afternoon, Liam's pacing his office again, jaw clenched. "We locked down every server. If this isn't digital," Ava finishes for him, "then it's personal." He looks up sharply. "You think Ethan had help?" "I think Ethan wasn't smart enough to pull this off alone." Liam rubs his temples. "Perfect. Just when I thought we were out of it." Ava walks over, placing a hand on his arm. "You're not alone in this. Not anymore." He looks down at her hand, then back at her eyes. "You keep saying that. But what happens when this is all over? You'll move on again, right? Another company, another project." Her voice softens. "You think that's all I'm here for?" He doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. The silence says everything. That night, they're the last two people in the building again. The city glows outside like a restless heartbeat. But inside the office, the only sound is the hum of computers and the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights. Ava's typing furiously, trying to trace the message source again. When Liam finally speaks, "Do you ever get tired of fighting?" She pauses. "No, why not?" "Because it's easier than feeling." He studies her. "That's not true." She looks up. "Then why do you do it?" He doesn't look away. "Because if I stop fighting, I'll have to admit I still care about you." The words hang there, raw and unfiltered. Ava's breath catches. For a long moment, neither moves. Then, softly, she says, "You always did pick the worst times to tell the truth." He steps closer, his voice low. "And you always did run from it." "I'm not running now," she whispers. And before either of them can stop it, he's kissing her slow, desperate, like all the years apart never existed. The city hums outside. The lights flicker across the glass walls. And for the first time in forever, he doesn't feel empty. When they finally pull apart, her hands are still tangled in his shirt, her forehead resting against his. "This changes everything," she says softly. He nods. "Good, but peace never lasts long in their world." The next morning, the stock market opens and the Halo Group's numbers crash again. Ava rushes into the office, heart racing. What happened? Liam's already at his desk, eyes locked on the screen. Someone dumped $50 million worth of shares overnight. The timing's too perfect. It's a hit. She frowns from the inside. He nods grimly. Someone's still pulling strings. They dig through reports, tracing the transactions. Every path leads to the same dead end. A shell corporation registered overseas. Then Ava spots something, a signature. Small, hidden in the metadata of the purchase order. Her breath catches Liam. He leans over. "What is it?" She zooms in. And there it is. Sethan's name. But beside it, another one. One that makes Liam's blood run cold. Marion Hale. He stares at the screen, stunned. "That's impossible." Ava looks at him. "Who is she?" He exhales shakily. "My sister." The words hit like a lightning strike. "She's been living in London for years," he says quickly, almost defensively. "She had nothing to do with the company." Ava studies him carefully. Maybe she does now. For the next 2 days, everything turns upside down. Liam flies to London, Ava by his side, following a trail of shell accounts and offshore holdings. What they uncover makes everything else look small. Marion, it turns out, owns controlling interest in multiple competitor firms' companies that have been quietly profiting from every one of the Hale Group's missteps. Every scandal, every leak, every dip in stock value. She's been orchestrating it for years. From the shadows, when they finally confront her, it's not in some grand boardroom, but in a quiet penthouse overlooking the Thames. Still trying to play the hero, brother, she says coolly, sipping her wine. I told you once your empire was built on arrogance. It was only a matter of time before it fell. Liam's fists clench. You sabotaged your own family. She smiles faintly. Family stopped meaning anything the day you took everything from me. I gave you everything. No, she says softly. You gave me your leftovers. You got the company, the glory, the name, and you left me in your shadow. Ava steps forward. You tried to destroy him for revenge. Marion shrugs. I didn't try. I succeeded. The words hang like poison in the air. Liam's voice drops to a whisper. You won't get away with this. Oh, but I already have, she says, turning toward the window. Because you'll never go public. You can't. You'll destroy what's left of your brand. For a moment, she's right. He can't. Exposing her means dragging the Hale name through the dirt again. The company might not survive it. But Ava's voice cuts through the silence. He doesn't have to. Both of them turn to her. You said he's arrogant, she says slowly, stepping closer to Marion. But you made the same mistake. You underestimated him. You thought he'd protect his name over the truth. But Liam's changed. He's not saving his company anymore. He's saving himself. And before Marion can respond, Ava pulls out her phone, recording the entire conversation. Liam's eyes widen slightly, but she just gives him a small nod. It's over. By the next morning, the recording hits every major news outlet. The story explodes. Hale exposes family betrayal to save company integrity instead of sinking the brand. It ignites a wave of public support. Investors rally, the stock rebounds, and the company rises from the ashes stronger than ever. But none of that matters to Liam. All he can think about is the woman who stood beside him when the world tried to bury him twice. Ava. As the chaos settles, he finds her in the rooftop garden of the headquarters, staring out at the skyline. She turns when she hears him, a quiet smile on her lips. You really do attract trouble, she says softly. He chuckles. Guess it's better than being bored. She raises an eyebrow. You almost lost everything. Again, he steps closer. Maybe I needed to realize what really mattered. Her voice lowers. And what's that? He doesn't hesitate. She freezes, eyes. Ava sits by the window of the hospital room, the faint hum of the city outside mixing with the steady rhythm of the heart monitor. Liam lies unconscious on the bed, pale but alive. Tubes, wires, and sterile lights surround him. But to her, all she can see is the man who had stood in front of her and taken a bullet meant for her. Her hands tremble as she reaches out, brushing her fingers lightly across his. You weren't supposed to do that, she whispers. You weren't supposed to save me again. The door opens quietly behind her. Detective Marlowe steps in, his expression tired but gentle. You should get some rest, he says softly. He's stable now. That's what matters. Ava turns toward him, her eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. Who was it, really? Marlowe sighs. Thomas. He was working with a rival firm. When Liam cut him out of the merger deal, he started leaking information. The threats, the sabotage, it all came from him. But the final attack, he wasn't acting alone. Ava's stomach tightens. What do you mean? Marlowe hesitates. Someone higher up funded it. We're still digging, but the evidence suggests a board member wanted Liam out permanently. The takeover was supposed to happen next week. Her pulse quickens. So this isn't over. He shakes his head. Not yet. After he leaves, Ava turns back to Liam. His face is calm, peaceful almost, as if the weight he carried for years has finally started to lift. She leans closer, her voice barely a breath. You promised me we'd fix this together. So wake up, Liam, because I'm not doing this without you. Hours pass. The skyline outside shifts from night to dawn. The first rays of sunlight pour through the blinds, painting the room gold. And then he stirs, his fingers twitch around hers. She freezes, eyes wide, watching as his eyelids flutter open. His voice is hoarse, barely audible. Ava. She lets out a broken laugh, tears spilling over. You really know how to scare a person. He gives a faint, crooked smile. Guess I couldn't let you have all the attention. She laughs again, wiping her tears. Don't ever do that again. Can't make promises I don't intend to keep, he murmurs. Her expression softens, and for a moment, neither of them speaks. The silence feels sacred, fragile, full of things they both want to say but can't. Then his tone shifts, lower, serious. Thomas, arrested, she says, but there's more. Someone on the board helped him. Marlowe's still digging. Liam's jaw tightens. They came after you to get to me. I won't let that happen again. You can't fight this alone, she replies. You tried before, remember? Look where that got us. He exhaled slowly, looking away. You always did know how to cut through my pride. Someone has to, she says softly. Days later, the two of them stand together in the boardroom again, but this time the atmosphere is different. The same men and women who once whispered behind their backs now sit silent as Liam lays out evidence of betrayal: bank transfers, communications, signatures. Ava stands by his side, calm and fierce. When he finishes, the room is heavy with guilt and fear. Liam straightens, his voice steady. This company was built on trust. Somewhere along the way, that was lost, but not anymore. Starting today, we rebuild not just profits, but integrity. There's quiet applause, hesitant at first, then stronger. The tide has turned. After the meeting, as the boardroom empties, Ava lingers by the window. Liam joins her, his expression unreadable. "So," she says softly, "we actually did it." He chuckles quietly. "We did." She glances at him. "And what now? What happens when the crisis ends?" He looks at her for a long moment, the city reflected in his eyes. "Then maybe we stop running from what's been right in front of us." Her breath catches. "Liam." He takes a step closer, voice low. "I almost lost you twice. Once because I was too proud to fight, and once because I was too afraid to care. I'm done pretending that you're just someone from my past." She shakes her head slightly, tears brimming again. "You don't owe me this." He smiles faintly. "You're wrong. I owe you everything." The silence stretches between them, electric, alive. Then finally she closes the distance. When their lips meet, it's not rushed or desperate. It's something deeper, a promise forged through pain, forgiveness, and all the battles they fought side by side. For a moment, the world outside disappears. There's only the two of them, the man who once swore he'd never fall again, and the woman who taught him how. Weeks later, news outlets explode with headlines: Hale Group restores trust, record recovery after crisis. Photos of Liam and Ava side by side dominate business magazines and social media feeds. But beyond the cameras and articles, something quieter has bloomed between them, a peace they both thought they'd never find. In one of their late-night strategy sessions, Ava sits at his desk, glasses perched on her nose as she scrolls through reports. Liam watches her from across the room, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "What?" she asks, catching him staring. "Just wondering how I ever survived without you," he says. She smirks. "You didn't. You just pretended really well." He laughs softly, walking closer. "You're not wrong." She looks up, eyes soft. "You know this isn't going to be easy, right? The board, the media, they'll keep digging." He nods. "Let them. As long as I've got you in my corner, I can take it." She stands, closing the laptop. "Good, because you're stuck with me now." He reaches for her hand, their fingers intertwining. "That's the best thing I've ever been stuck with." As the city lights shimmer beyond the glass, Ava leans into him. The chaos of the past finally giving way to something solid, something real. They've rebuilt an empire, but more importantly, they've rebuilt each other. And as the night deepens, his voice breaks the quiet. "You know what's funny?" "What?" she asks. He smiles faintly. "You were the last person I ever wanted in my life." She raises an eyebrow. "Wow, romantic." He chuckles, his tone softening. "And now, you're my whole world." The camera fades out on their silhouettes against the skyline to people who fought, broke, and healed together, proof that sometimes love doesn't arrive when you want it to. It arrives when you're finally ready for it.